So I hope everybody is clear up to properties. I guess I don't no need to repeat myself. We can follow the dry concepts in our lectures as well. Don't repeat yourself. So let's move further from the properties. Is the method. Okay, today I want to ask one question here from the everyone. How many of you want me to take the OOPS concept again? Because we have a dedicated lecture allocated for the OOPS concepts like abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and overloading, and all the things. So, how many of you want me to take it again in the perspective of the C sharp? I'm sure you all of have learned in the Java as well. I just need a what can say chat in chat window yes or no. If if many yes, then we will take it. If many no, majority will win. On the basis of the majority, we will decide. Okay. Okay, you didn't understand the properties. Get and set. These are actually the accessors, or can say a rule that you can put on any variable. I can say any field. Suppose if I introduce only get, then I can only retrieve the value all the time. And if I put the set as well, then it will work as a complete variable where you can retrieve as well as you can uh, set any value. I have not shared this PPT yesterday because it was incomplete. Today it is completed, and I will share this PPT with you. Rest, you guys, if you have any doubt or anything, then you can ask me the question at that time, or you can revisit the video in the YouTube that what I am uploading. Or at least or at least do some practice as well. I know that from the last 2 days I have not assigned any hands-on, but today the hands-on will be there, so no need to worry. Yeah. Sure. Hmm. So, yeah. So tomorrow we will be on the OOPS concept, C sharp OOPS, the complete four features of the OOPS that we will cover tomorrow. I thought you people might not be interested because yesterday all the things would be repeating that you have learned in the Java. So that's the reason I have asked this question, whether you want to see all these things again with the C sharp, or what you guys want like to do. So it's okay. So that we will cover on tomorrow's lecture. So today we will see like this. As per our next topic, the method. Who can tell me the difference between a method and a function? Does anybody like to try? Methods action can be called by reference. Methods can be called by reference variable. Okay. Even function can be called by reference variable. Function is also a class member function. Methods are called using objects and function can't. Both can be called. Uh, observe these two. Okay, let me highlight again. In this, one is a function, and yes, this is the correct answer. The function has return value. Function returns something, while the method does not return anything. Exactly, this is the correct answer. You know, once I was interviewed by the IITN. This is the question asked to me by the IITN. You can say the IIT alumni. And even I was very confused. I was giving similar answers that okay, it is a member function. So practically there is no difference between function and a method. Only the difference is of a return type. Function returns something, as like here I am returning the string. But rest, both are the methods. It is in the void, it doesn't return anything. So this is the only difference between the function and a method. Yeah. So let's understand what is a method in terms of these theory parts. So method is a block of code which only runs when it is called. Even many of you have mentioned that okay, it is called by a reference variable or by this or that. So yes, those answers are correct, but that wasn't a difference between a function and a method. It is a what can say it is a even it's not a feature. It is a protocol to run the method. So you can run any method or any function when it is called only. Method deals with the classes function. Okay, method deals with the classes and function doesn't deals with classes. Both can deal with the classes. Again, this need to see that what you are trying to say. Otherwise, both can deal with the classes. Anyways, let me come back to the method. Yeah, I was telling that okay, you can call it or you can run it when you explicitly call it, or you can say dedicatedly call it. Then only it can execute. Otherwise, till then, as you can see here, in my case, this Soumya solution and Ranjita solution is idle. I'm not using it anywhere, but I'm calling this calculate my age. This function I'm calling in the program one. So yeah, I have to call it by writing that one. Why we use method or a function? The main thing is the reusability. Means I have written one code that I don't want to with the help of few sometimes with the few parameters or something like such, so that I can reuse the same code. and as many times as possible, and as many in the as many classes as I want. So that is the only biggest what can say the benefit of the method or a function. So that's for that we use the method. Now then the method parameter. Instead of going on this theory on this PPT part, I would like to show you here. In this case, this okay, as of now consider this as a method or a function. As I told you that both are same, only the difference is of return type. So right now you just consider the parameter. This function has a parameter like date time, that what I have introduced. I have tried to make this method as generic as possible. Please put your microphone on mute, whoever is there. Anyways, yeah. So I was telling about the parameter. Okay, I have tried to make this function as generic as possible with the help of this parameter, or even without such, the function can be a generic. Again, it depends on the situation. So the parameter is used mainly to pass some data or pass some value to your method. This is the only reason that this is the only agenda behind introducing the parameters. Okay. So and parameters can be n number of, like I can write here anything else as well. Even I can introduce like this way. Oh, sorry, that's the problem. Okay, you just need to put a comma and introduce as many number of parameters as you want. That is absolutely fine. Now I want to ask one question here to everyone. If I introduce a parameter like this, what is it called? What this parameter called? Can anyone tell me? Does anyone know anything? Yes, default valued parameter, or in simple words we can call it default parameter. Yeah. So default parameter is what that you have assigned the value while the at the time of declaration only. That is the that is the that is a that we call the default parameter. Inside the inside the function or inside the method, you can definitely uh, change the change the value. That is not an issue for anyone. Like I have introduced this age. So earlier I am setting the integer age is equal to 0, but now my age value will be changed to 22, 25, 30. As with me, my age is 30, so it will turn it to the 30. It will change it to 30. But in your case, it might be 22, 3, 1, whatever it is. Okay. So in C sharp there are only two types of parameters only. One is a what can say the normal parameter that what we are declaring, and another one is the default parameter. And data type can be, as we have seen, as many data type we can write, or we can assign it. Now here it is written it's written the same thing. Parameter acts as a variable inside the method. You can see this is a variable which I am using inside the method. Where is my birthday? Yeah, here. How many places I am using? Where I am using one. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. Here as well, 4, 5. So like this way, even at the down as well, it might be used. I'm not sure. So yeah, what was it? So inside the method as a variable, we are using it. Huh. There is a rule that They are specified after the method name inside the parenthesis. As you can see, it is after a method name inside this bracket, which is called a parenthesis, and you can add as many parameters as you want, just separate them with the comma, as I have shown you in the demo. Okay, now the method overloading. Overloading means, in a simple concept, I can tell you one thing, that you have to keep the method name or function name same, but you can change the number of parameters or a data type of parameters or a type of parameters. As you can see in this example as well, here I have written that you can see my method is same everywhere, but the number of parameters are changing, here 1 and here 2. If here I am not changing anything, then is also fine, but here but in the parameter I have to change the data type. Okay, let me show you that as well. Suppose if I want to write like this way. Yeah, okay. Okay, better I'll use the method instead of function. Otherwise, unnecessarily I need to, what can say, I have to introduce a return type. Okay, so I am giving integer a. No. See, I have only one parameter only, but their types are different. So this is also we can use it as a method overloading, or this is also known as method overloading, where you can use the same method name, but to perform a different kind of action, or can say the operation. You can consider it that I need to count, I need to calculate here just integers, but here I need to count floats as well, float value as well. Like, even like the same way I can do, like I can introduce like this way as well, float integer b. See, so all these things, whenever you have a same function name, no matter what, but you have a different type of parameters or different number of parameters, it the concept will be called as a method overloading, or if you have a function, then it will be known as a function overloading. That's it. So let's come to this part where we need to read this. So with method overloading, multiple methods can have the same name with different parameters. Same name with different parameters. See, same name but different parameters. Even here you can find out. Plus method. Here they are making addition of integer. Here they are doing the addition of double. Instead of defining two methods that should do the same thing, it is better to overload one. Multiple methods can have the same name as long as the number or type of the parameters are different, as I have explained even when the demo time as well. Okay, let me show you how it looks when you try to use it. Okay, I have this logic dot Soumya solution. Na? Why it, okay, it's protected one. Okay, so right now you can see that Soumya solution has a four types of definition. Like this is the empty one, first one is the empty one, then the second one with the float parameter that see it is asking me, the third one is showing as an integer, and the last one is asking me about the a and b both, float and integer both. I can write anything inside it. By the way, this f is need to put to initialize as the value as for the float. Okay, so don't confuse with this f. This is not the string one. This is float only. See, now all types of now you can see it is showing me that okay, what kind of method, or can say what which method I have used here. I have used in the first case with the float and integer b, the method number 3 or 4, I don't remember. Now come to the second one. I have taken the method of the with the float parameter only, and the third one is with the integer one. I can take the default one as well without any parameter. See, it will tell me the one. It will take me to the first one. Okay. Okay, what about order of parameters? Order of parameters can be anything, it's fine. But yes, whenever you want to initialize the default parameter, only for the default parameter, it must be declared in the last only. Let me show you that as well. This is a really good question. Suppose if I want to declare a default parameter, then it should be declared at the last. And even default parameters can be multiple as well. Like I need to introduce like this way. See, there is no there won't be any compile time error will come because I what why chalo delete. Now you can see that there is no error if I am doing like this way. See, but if I put this, if I take this parameter like this way, first it will give me error here, so I need to comment this one. But in terms of syntax as well, it is not allowed. You can see little small red underline here. If I give it into the error list, it will also come. The optional parameters must appear after all the required parameters. See, so like this way you should use the default ones. Okay, any other question in the parameters, or can say in the overloading? We can use a key value pair. Key value pair like what, dictionary, or what you want to use, or array you want to use? Can you please little elaborate this question, that can we use a key value pair? If we are giving parameters value, not in order. So what's the problem? If you are not giving in order, then what is the problem? Only for the default value there is a rule. Only for the default parameter there is a rule. Otherwise there are no rules. Means what is the order? Means I can write like this way and it means okay. Anyways, leave it this one. Let me come to this one. If I put the integer b ahead of a, there won't be any order issue. I just need to change. I just need to make a change here. Okay, in this case it is good that I don't need to make it. That's the only thing. Where you want to make any? Where is the order issue? Values to A and B. Oh, okay. Are you saying about the inside? Okay. You can do one thing. You can you can write the code or something like such in the Notepad or Visual Studio or in Visual Studio Code, and share it in the WhatsApp so that we can understand the actually the question, because I'm not actually understanding the question as well. And if you are saying that okay, inside the B, if you want to put the value of A, then we have seen the concept of casting. You know, I have to do like this way here. If you mismatch the argument, then you have to what can say, match it with the casting if you want to do like this way. Otherwise, it's fine if you don't want to do. Okay, method. Okay, like this way. Okay, better we see right now. I don't think it is allowed. As per me, it's not allowed. But still, for you, I would like to try. I think it will allow because the type is different. Integer. Okay. No, because in your case, both are the integer only. It won't. It doesn't allow. Now you can see. First argument is integer. First argument is float. But if I change it like this way, it allows. In your case, both data type is same, number of parameters are also same. You are just interchanging the variable names, so that doesn't allow. And that is also not a method overloaded or anything. Okay. I hope I have shown you this in the practical as well. It doesn't allow you. If you want, then I can rewrite it. See, these two are not allowed because both are integer and float. Okay. Okay. So let's read it out. So instead of defining two methods, okay, we have read this. Okay. So any question in method overloading anymore? Any more question? Or inside or entire method in method concept or function concept? Any question? Okay, if it will come, then I'll read and I'll answer. Let's move it forward. further. Yeah, static. Chalo, I hope that it will be little different from the Java from here. Okay. So static. Unfortunately, whenever we work with the console application, okay, there is some question. When actually the method is considered as an overload. When actually, okay, or sir, can we overload the methods in the same class? Yes, you can overload the methods in the same class as well as in different class as well. No matter what, you can do that. Okay, I have this Somya solution here and float one. I can, okay, let me take both of this method into my program. I hope it will allow me. See, I can overload the method at any class or any place. And let's take the Sarika's question. When actually the method is considered as an overloaded method. Whenever you use the same function, same method name, whenever you found the same method or can the same name of the method with the two with more than one from sorry, whenever you find the method name more than once in your project or more than once in your application, it is called as a overloaded method. When you should use it, that is a different case. As I told you, as I've shown you here, ultimately I have to do the plus only, addition only. But here I have to make an addition of integer, and in the another method I have to make an addition of a double data type. So whenever you want to do a same operation, but your parameters can be different, or your requirements would be somewhere different, but the ultimate result, or can say the ultimate operation, will be the same. In that case, it is recommended to use the method overloading. Or sometimes few people, are lazy like me. I'm a very lazy person. So I sometimes I do that. I create only one method and repeating the names in the another methods as well, so that everyone understood, okay, this same function are doing only one method is doing all kinds of work. So whenever I created my method, so my method is performing everything. It is performing multiplication as well, it is performing addition as well, it is performing all types of calculations. Okay, any more question? Okay. Okay, then move towards the static keyword. Yeah, I was telling that as we are right now working with the console application, so the console application is by default to work with the static members only, or can say static members, static functions, static methods, even anything would be static, as you can see here. See, I am declaring all the methods as static. But when you work with the another type of projects, whether it's a web project or Windows project or a WPF application or Android or any other type of projects, you are allowed to work without a static keyword, or can say you are recommended to work without a static keyword. But console, it has a rule. Or can say console is designed in a such a way that it works with the only static members and static functions. So yeah, so let's come back to the static one. So static is a keyword, or you can call it a specifier. In other words, is a modifier as well. Keyword, better to use it, better to remember it as a keyword. Yeah. So the static's main function is to make the member or a function non-instantiable. Now, what is instantiable? Let me show you. Okay. Let me introduce one class. This time I would like to give a professional name. And I would make it a public as well. Okay. Now, if I want to use this class, I have to create its object. Come on, what is it? Okay. Okay, to not to confuse you, I would like to like this way. So this so this method, I can say this statement, by writing this statement we are actually instantiating the result class, or can say we are actually introducing the result class. We are ordering to use this result class. So this is we called it instantiation. So, but if I put a class, if I declare the class with a static, this new statement, or can say the instantiation, will not be allowed. After that, I need to write, okay, first I need to introduce any method first. Okay, let's introduce property instead of that. My property is fine. Okay. So if I want to use this my property, okay, do I need to create a static? Public static. Okay. So now if I want to use this class, I have to write like this way, result dot what is problem what mm-hmm. Sorry, okay, not to class, I just need to make it this one. Still it is not allowing me. Come on, yaar. Okay, now this time it's not public. One minute. This is also the class logic. I'm able to use this. Okay, because yeah, inside the function I'm able to use these are all these things are a static one. Anyways, I might have done some mistakes over there, I'm not sure. Let me try again. Class. I hope I will be allowed. Result. What is the problem here? Now it is allowing. Public static integer. Ah, spelling mistake. Now it is allowing. Okay, I don't know what is the. Okay, sorry. Rahul has. Sir, will it execute without calling explicitly? No, it will not execute without calling explicitly. You have to. Cannot. Okay, it's an integer type. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's come to the static one. Where where are, where was I? Yeah. So I was telling that you cannot instantiate, as I shown you. Uh, if I put a static keyword above any variable, any function, or any method, you then after you cannot instantiate the class, or can say that method. You cannot use the new keyword or override keyword, or you cannot do that. You can directly write. Or you can say you can directly use that parameter or function or anything without creating it again and again. Okay, we will see the benefits of the static keyword. Okay, yeah, static keyword can be applied on classes, variables, methods, properties, operators, events, constructor, anything. Even constructors can be static. If the static is applied to a class, then that class cannot be instantiated without a new keyword. Sorry, it cannot be instantiated using the new keyword. Sorry, not without, using the new keyword. Yeah. Suppose. Okay. I guess I'm fine with this one. I don't know what was the result is having a problem. Acha, this static class. And I guess I need to make it public as well. So if I write like this way, then after I cannot create an object of this, as I shown you earlier as well. If I put a static to the class, then I cannot create an object of this. But if I remove this static from the here, then it is allowed, and inside that I can write anything. See, now a dot my property is equal to 4. I hope this time my property 1 a dot, see, my property 1 does not allow it. But if I write like this way, my property 1. So when I put a static, it will not work with the new keyword or with any object. You have to use the class name and then the property or function name or whatever you have. Yeah. See, so this is the difference between here. What is the actual difference is that whenever you write a new keyword or whenever you instantiate a class, or whenever, or in other words, simple words I can call it, whenever you create an object, it will occupy some memory in the it will occupy some memory, and the similarly and by that way, it will always, whenever if I write like this way as well, it will take some memory for this as well and for this as well. But when I'm writing like this way, when I use the static keyword, it will take the memory on it will use the memory only once, and consideringly performing faster. So this is the reason that static concept is introduced. Now it might be explained here as well. Yeah, if the static is applied to a variable, method or property, they can be accessed without creating an object. Okay, this is okay, I have told you. Yeah. So when we don't want to create a multiple instance of a variable, we want to access the same values across the multiple instances of a class, then we can opt for a static variable. I guess no one would understood this one. Okay. If I don't want to create a multiple instances like I have created here, but I want to create here as well. Okay, let me give the name here, A1. So all the time I have to initialize this in all types of wherever, in as many classes I want to use it. So whenever I don't want to do all these things, because every time I initialize, it will occupy the memory, and unnecessarily it will make your program little slower. So to avoid this situation, I can declare the method as a static. I don't recommend to declare the class as a static, because then after you do not have any option, because sometimes if I don't want to create a static class, then I must have a option. So it is recommended to not declare the class as a static, but yeah, you can declare the members as a static if you want to restrict it to reinitialize again and again. Now it will here the my property one is occupied the place, has occupied the memory. Now if I use it in a program class or in my logic class, it will take the value from there only, or it will take the value from you can say the ABC class only, or from anywhere. Any question, any confusion in this? Because I believe there might be some tricky concepts here. Any question on the static? Does this static part of Java? I don't know about this. Ah, good. Good, this is a part of Java. Because even I realized that I didn't explain the static good. And I'm really sorry. Anyways, come to the extension method. Okay, at least I'm sure this is not the part of Java. And to explain the extension method, static is necessary to cover. Otherwise, because both are dependent. So extension method is actually an extra method that you can apply to your data type. Actually, as it's written here, that extension method, you can add method or methods to your existing types. Here types means data types, to your existing types without even creating a new derived type, or recompiling or modifying the original type. Okay, I can understand that this definition is self confusing, but let me come to the this part. Yesterday I had shown you something. Okay, I'm just removing all these things, like my property dot to string. Okay, this to string is an extension method provided by a framework class library to us, or in other words, this extension method is provided by the .NET framework to us. You can see it's coming from the metadata. I cannot change it, I cannot write anything here, and I cannot modify it as well. Means I can modify, but that is a long process that I don't want to come here. So similarly, there are many what can say extension methods are provided by the .NET default. But if I want to create my own, then I have to introduce it, or I have to rewrite it. So what does extension method does? You can see that my property this property data type is integer, but I need to convert it into the string. So one other another method is that I can write like this way. I hope it allows. Okay, here it is not allowing me because this casting is not possible like this way, but yeah, this convert is possible. So one way is to write like this way. Here I am working on a data type. My property has a data type of integer, and I want to change it to the string or any other thing in the future. So there are one method that either I use like this way, or I use it with the extension method. So similarly, if I want to create this, if I want to make this integer to a double or decimal, okay, let's take me a double one here. So one way is that I can write like this way. See, but there is no method. I hope there is no extension method to convert it into the double, to double. See, there is no method. There is no such method. Only two string is allowed. So if I want to create like this way, or if I want to just put an extension, all this you call it an extension, or can say the below, or can say the functions. So if I want to create like such things, I can go with the extension methods. So how to create it? There is a syntax that need to be followed. You must need a static class for that. See, they have created one static class demo. Let we create as well. Or I use this public static class. Then after this won't be allow me. Then I have to create a static method as well. Public static double. And inside that I need to convert integer into the double. So I will use this parameter or this keyword, then after a data type, and then after a value. This value is not a keyword or not a necessary thing. I can write anything. Okay, parameter name I can put anything. I'm just keeping the value for professional coding and all, and then I can write return convert dot to double value, or I can write like this way as well. Okay, anything is fine. So now if I want to do like such things, see, 2 double is available now. So the good part of the extension method is that you can write at anywhere, and it will register at your framework from anywhere. If you want, then I would like to print it as well. Okay, I don't want to print this. Let it go outside. Why? What is the error? Oh, okay. Any more error? No. Yeah, this problem I really don't need to. I some many a times I'm not getting why it doesn't show me. Come on, yeah. See, the phi is printed. So now this one is now this one is, what can say, translated into the double. Can say converted into the double. Okay. So as I've written that this keyword is a rule, or can say that you need to be followed to declare as a extension method. And whenever you want to work on any existing data type, and then you want to change it to the any another data type, which is not provided by the .NET framework by default, then it is recommended to go with the extension method. Even in the live project, uh, sometimes data type is customs as well. Custom data types are also there, and we want to make it into another different data types. So in that case as well, the extension methods are used. But for your understanding, or can say the this up to this training part, you can understand that you just need to update from string to double, or integer to double, decimal, or character to string, something like such. Wherever you want to do, then it is recommended, then extension methods are used. Any question on extension methods? And yes, you can have multiple extension methods as well on one type as well. I can put okay, 1 minute. As like this, I have created two double method. I similarly I can create a two decimal as well. Decimal is not a keyword. Is float allows? Okay. into float. Better to write. So they see this becomes, this can be converted into the float as well. Do I need to write it again here? I don't know whether it will be. Ah. Fine. Any questions? In this example, they have converted string into the integer, but string has to be, and then they are using the pass method. Come on, yeah, they are parsing it and then giving you the result. Yeah, any question? Okay. If there is no question, then next move towards the nested class. I'm sure this would be there in Java as well. In any programming language, nested classes are there. So class inside a class is known as a nested class. Whichever class was there inside one is known as a nested class. As per the definition you can read, a nested class is a class declared in another enclosing class. Why we need to use it? Whenever we need to group group the classes, and we need to combine them at one place, then and only then this concept is used. Being very honest, in my career of 10 years, I have not seen any nested class. Seriously, I'm saying, in the 10 years I have not seen in any live project, or even I was unable to find out in a .NET framework anywhere as well, in the framework class library. I have not seen the nested class. So practically, I don't have any knowledge that, okay, why it is used, where it is used. I have only read about it, but I have never worked on it, or never seen in the live, or in the live project or anywhere. But it is good. But as per the knowledge, or can say as per the experience, I can say it, that it is good for encapsulation thing. Whenever, as like we have seen in the properties as well, that we have a get and set accessor. Only with the get accessor we are restricting others to change the value of my property, or can say of my variable, or can say we are exposing only that much that we are need to. On the very first day, I have shared one Excel sheet with you, with the Google Drive link. So for the very first day, it was allowing you to edit as well, because I have instructed all of you to write down your names and employee IDs or associate IDs. Now, if you open the same link, you are not allowed to change anything. You are allowed to view it, but you are not allowed to change it. So similarly, the properties has the same features. It will decide that whether you are allowed to just view only, or write there as well, or you are allowed to make any changes in the existing values as well. So the values are also do the same. Here, the nested class also works in a similar way, that uh, what type of functions or functionalities you want to allow to the another one, that can be grouped into the multiple classes. So yeah, this is the concept of nested class. I really believe that no need to write down all the things, because you can see from this example as well, okay, how you can declare the nested class, how you can use it as well. But unfortunately, on what scenario you should use it, I am not aware of. But it is written here to increase the use of encapsulation and create more readable and more maintainable code. Honestly saying, it is written, but I have not experienced. So consider this like a concept of God. We all have experience, but not have seen. Okay. Chalo. Let's move further. Okay. I believe this is the last one. Yeah. Yeah. So partial class. Okay. First, I have worked on this, and this is a really good feature of the C sharp. And somewhere I am confident that no other language in this world is coming up with this partial class concept. I'm still not sure. I'm not make any kind of claims, but this is my belief because I have not seen such things in any other programming language. So what is a partial class? Uh, Whenever more than one person needs to work on the same class, let me come to here. Let me create one more class. Uh, let on Mike. Uh, Suppose I am working on this class, Ishan class. At the same time, Sandhya is also working. Sandhya has also need to work on the same class. Rahul is also need to work on the same class. So practically, three people cannot work on the same .cs file, or I cannot say cannot, but should not work on the same class. Why? Because I am writing integer a is equal to 0, but Rahul needs to write like this way: integer a is equal to 1. Sandhya wants to write a is equal to 2. So it will give me the error. But if I create a new CS file, so what would I like to do first? I can write partial, and then I need to declare this as partial. Now see, now I am working here, and consider that Sandhya is working here. Let me write here, and let me write one more thing. Okay. Yeah, it's right that I would not allow to write like this way. Sorry. Instead of vision, I would like to put demo and see. Okay. So, so yeah, consider that I am providing to write the. Okay, let me better to. Okay. Okay, consider that I am provided to write the integer c. Sandhya is instructed to write integer a, and Rahul is instructed to write variable b. So all we have a different tasks assigned, but but we need to write in a one class file only. So practically at the same time, three people should not work on the same .cs files. Here the concept is to save this .cs files, not to work on this class or anything like that. So in that case, you can create a different CS file and declare your class as partial. Names must be same. Yeah, you have to take care that what can say, the variables names does not duplicate. Value can be is fine. So whenever you have a similar thing, in that case you should go with the partial class. As now better we read out. C Sharp provides a functionality to implement, has a special ability to implement the functionality of a single class into multiple CS files, class files. And all these files are combined into a single class file when the application is compiled. Yeah. Whenever you compile it, all these three classes that what we have created as a partial one, ultimately it will be treated as a one. And whatever the error and mistakes have been made, whether it will be captured pre-compiled or at the time of compilation, and sometimes it will take it will catch at the runtime. Okay. Yeah. So partial class is created by using partial keyword only. That what I have shown as well. What are the requirements of the partial class? The first requirement, the partial class definition must be in the same assembly and the namespace. So in our case, come on here. In our case, Ishan console is an assembly. So all the partial classes must be in the same assembly as well as in the same namespace as well. Okay, I can change the namespace here. Ishan console 1. So it should be here as well, Ishan console 1. If I put it Ishan console, then these two can be compiled, but this won't be. Okay, leave it. See, I am getting one green line. Yeah, so this is recommended to be inside the same namespace as well. What next? Yes, leave it. When working with automatically generated source code can be added to the class. Okay, we are into the advantage. Okay, that is what I'm saying, that what is happening. Okay. Requirements, sorry. All the parts must have the same accessibility like public or private. Yeah, if I have created the class as public, then all the classes should be public only. I cannot create like another one as a private or protected and one is a public or anything. So the accessibility cannot be mismatched as well. Similarly, if any part is declared as abstract, sealed or base type, then the whole class is declared of the same type. Suppose if I make this as an abstract class, this abstract and all we will learn tomorrow. Okay, abstract I guess should be here only. Abstract should be at the very first one. So if I make this as an abstract one, then the automatically rest 2 will be also considered as an abstract only, whether you make it or not. Okay, abstract or sealed or anything. So the different parts can have different base types, and so the final class will be inherit all the base types. Again here the okay, here the base type is the abstract, and on the basis of the base types it will be considered or it will be treated. I guess it is repeating itself again and again, but the concept is same. Now nested partial types are allowed. Again, same as a nested class, nested partial classes are also allowed. But in real terms, or in can say in real life scenario, I have never seen it. The last thing, what are the advantages? As the biggest advantage of the partial class is this one. Apart from this, believe me, no other benefits has been seen in the real life scenarios. Multiple developers can work simultaneously with a single class in a separate class files. This is the only advantage. Though it is mentioned another things as well. Okay. Before coming to the part advantage number 2, I would like to explain the advantage number three first. So maintain the application in an efficient manner by compressing the large classes into the small ones. You know, object oriented programming concept, OOPS concept, that you need to segment, or you need to break the code into the small segments. This is what can say a feature of the OOPS. Similarly, partial classes is supporting further that you can distribute your code into the multiple files, so that you can track down the smaller versions of the same class. Now come to the second part. This one actually referring to the web applications. That this one is never you cannot see in the console application. Yesterday even I was thinking to not write or not put this as well in this PPT. So let's read it out first. When working with automatically generated source code can be added to the class without having to recreate the source file. Now, for example, Visual Studio separates HTML code for the UI and server-side code into the two separate files, .aspx and .cs files. Now, this is completely referring to the web application. Web application has the two types of files. One is .aspx, that deals with the HTML coding only, and .cs file, that what we are working nowadays as well. This .cs file contains the logic, and in web application default class type is a partial one. In web application, you wherever this .aspx and cs has to be linked out, those class files are the partial only. Better I can show you if it is allow me. It will allow me, but I have to create one more project. Add new project. Web. Yeah, empty and web forms. Even earlier as well I had shown you this, but let me show you one more time. So in this web application, let me make one page, one web form, index. See, index.aspx is the page that works with the HTML coding only, but it has one backend file as well, index.aspx.cs. See, this page has a partial class only, and this page allows to work as a partial class only. So the point number 2 is referring to this one only. Whenever you have an automatically generated source, then code can be added to the class without having to recreate the source file. So unfortunately, this point number 2 is not a part of your training, but I have added just to show you how it will be work, or can say how it is related with the web applications. Okay, so this is the end of today's lecture. Uh, any questions? Yes, we have a destructors in C sharp. But in real life scenarios or in any of the live project, these days in the modern concepts, destructors are still used. But 85% of the project you will find out in your career that do not have any destructors. These days, whichever projects are started after the 2018, because ASP.NET Core, that what I have introduced in the very first lecture, it recommends you to use the destructor as well, but the any approach before the core one is not recommending you to use the destructor, because we have a garbage collector feature is there, and it managed. So yes, we have destructor, but hardly used. Any question related to today's lecture? If no, then better to wrap up today's session. And today afternoon we do not have any lecture. I'll bring you the hands-ons, and you need to perform that. Once I'll prepare the hands-on, I'll write you the email, as well as I provide you in the WhatsApp as well. Okay. Hello guys. Have a nice day. Have fun.